rock it out.
Yep, sounds good.
Thanks, buddy. All right, folks from around the world, it's me, Jeremy Alexander Newsom, with another interview this week. And as you guys all know, March is Kids Month at Real Life Trading. What I did about 3 days ago is I did a quick poll on Slack, and I asked, who's the youngest trader here? And I started with my age, so I'm 29. And we just kept getting younger and younger traders. I think Thomas threw his name in there, and Brian Montgomery. We have a lot of people who are in the 20s. And then we had Anthony. Now, Anthony, do you go by Tony or do you go by Anthony?
I go by Tony.
Tony. Okay, cool, man. How do you pronounce your last name?
Marchiori.
So are you Italian?
Yes, correct.
How
How could you have guessed? That's a good one, right?
Yeah, that is. So how old are you, man?
I'm 19, so I turned 19 in January.
19 in January. Well, congratulations as officially, as at least as of right now, being the youngest trader of Real Life Trading, man. Being in the room, subscribing to the room, being here almost every day. Thank you, man. This means a lot.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to be here. I love the community and the team, and being the youngest, it's a different perspective. Being around more mature traders, but I love the opportunity because there's always something to learn, especially being so young. There's so many things I can learn from all the great people on the team.
Man, truly. I mean, it is. I was blown away when I figured out that you were 19 and just a new 19. Just back in January. So where do you live right now?
So I live in Iowa City. It's in Iowa, considering that. And then so it's a part of the University of Iowa. It's a college town.
Ah, gotcha. So you're going to college right now?
Actually, so I was going last semester.
Okay.
And so that's kind of how I got into trading, actually, full time now.
Oh, whoa! Tell us about that. How did that journey look like?
So I started last semester. I was a freshman at the University of Iowa, and I was going to study finance, kind of a general degree in business. And they have a great program up here, and I like the school up here. It's a great place, and it's not too far from my hometown, just about an hour west from my hometown. And I really enjoyed it, but I started trading about when I was 17, just I guess messing around a little, like here and there, and I got more serious into it recently in November. And whenever it agreed with my schedule, I'd find time either before classes or maybe instead of my classes, and I would find time to trade the market. And it was always just a huge passion and interest of mine, especially recently going through school. And then I just recently made the transition after last semester. After completing last semester's school, I knew that this was actually it was a real goal of mine to become a full-time trader, and I knew it was attainable, and it was just something I went after.
Wow. Congratulations, man. So do you have any plans on going back to college or no?
It depends who you ask. If you ask me, no, it's not in the plans. And when I made that decision, I knew right away I would never look back. Of course, this is not the easiest thing to do in the world, and so I knew there was a chance that I would fail and I might not, be as successful as I imagined right away, especially. But that was a chance I was willing to take and a risk I was willing to take, and I never really thought that failure was an option. So I personally, I don't see myself going back to school anytime soon, and especially when I made the decision, I definitely didn't think I'd ever go back.
Okay. All right, man. Well, all I can say is I dig it entirely. That's the drive and the dedication, the passion that it really is going to take to become successful in anything. What's your daily schedule look like then right now? What do you kind of focus on? What do you do? What do you trade?
So right now, I wake up in the morning, so Central Time here. I wake up about 7:30 to 7 on a normal day. If I wake up earlier, it's always great to get some kind of physical workout in the morning. And then so I'll wake up. trade the market open. Usually I'll be here from open to close, just because this is actually my passion. I truly enjoy it. Even if I'm not making a trade or placing a trade, I like gaining the time behind the screen, and the experiment experience I think is so crucial. So I love spending time behind the charts and just trading the market. Particularly right now, I'm focused on option trading, so mostly just the regular underlyings. I trade a lot of SPY, day trading. Actually, that's the only underlying I've traded this month. Besides, I took one day trade with NVIDIA, but other than that, I've had 16 total day trades with the SPY. I've been trying
Wow,
to focus
nice.
on that.
Okay, I love it, man. So focusing on options, focusing on day trading, and focusing on the SPY. How have you looked so far in March?
Actually, this is my best month so far. I had the best swing trade, which was actually only one overnight hold, but I had the best swing trade and day trade of my trading career in the month of March, and I'm pretty happy with it. Overall, I expected better results for March, but it's been my best year so far. My best month, so far in the year, and I'm pleased with it.
Okay. Well, what is your goal for each month? I mean, as a day trader, you're trying to get 10 hours, 5 hours, 20 hours, or just be profitable?
So I guess it's been exponentially increasing. So, I guess in the beginning of the year, I was looking just for about 25 hours a month. And, now with my strategy, I'm trying to focus in on, well, I started this month, I wanted, 50 hours,
Sure.
but I don't think we're going to make it there with, I guess we have the rest of the day today and tomorrow, so who knows, but, right now I'm sitting at 25 hours, 24. I lost point nine yesterday on a breakdown.
Beautiful, man. Getting in there, getting aggressive. I like it. I think probably one of the biggest advices that I could have in that situation is whatever money you do make, stash a lot of it away and just start accumulating something, whatever that looks like.
Yes.
If
Mm-hmm.
you make 25 hours a month with options, because I mean, it's entirely doable with options, especially if you're focusing on something, right?
Mm-hmm.
You create that mastery, you create that just determination of this is what I'm going to do, this is what I want to focus on. And that's exactly what I did for almost a full year, as I just traded Apple and SPY. And, when I see a really good trade or a great breakdown, I'll just kind of shove in kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and have small risk, but very similar to poker, if you will, that you're putting into a pot. You're going to risk 1 R to make 15 Rs. It's not a really bad, not a bad situation.
Exactly. So that's my perspective with this strategy that I've been working on, particularly this month. So I look for very high risk to reward ratios, like you say. I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong on a trade. I have a problem when I end up losing more than an R is the problem, because as you taught to many of us, losing 1 R, that should be no problem for you if it's the correct size, and you should be okay to admit whenever you're wrong, whenever it's a loss, and you should be able to close out that trade and walk away or look for a new setup. And so that's really my mindset for this. I'm willing to cut my losers short, and through February and January, I saw that was what was keeping me from better performance, excelling, that my losers were outweighing my winners. And so it was just a few things, basically mostly focusing on risk management and taking trades that really had that a good risk to reward ratio, something from like 2 to 3 Rs, is usually what I try to look at.
Dude, you sound like you're 49.
It's funny
Right.
you say that. I like to say that I have a 40-year-old mindset in the body of 19. I think it's
Well,
weird.
good for you, man. Good for you. I'm very, very, very happy to hear that, because that is sensational. Because you have so much time ahead of you. That's going to be just a massive abundance of things that you're going to learn, and hopefully wealth that you're generate and lives that you're going to affect and help. What are some things that motivate you, as far as other than the stock market? Do you have any other hobbies, any other passions, any other goals, anything else you want to learn and challenge yourself with?
Right now, career-wise, I'm mostly focusing on trading and a little bit of just any investment opportunities. I've always kind of thought of myself as an entrepreneur and businessman, and so I'm learning a little bit more about real estate right now, where to secure money, where to put funds long term, and just other investment vehicles. But trading is really my biggest passion, especially right now. As I spoke about it earlier, I took on a huge risk, and not really my eyes, but it looked like a big risk, and I was putting a lot on the line. And so I really have no other focus than to excel at trading, to become the best that I can at it, because I believe in myself that much, and I think I know what I'm capable of. And so when I'm not performing to the best as I can in February and March, like that, down months, I don't really get down on myself. I come back to my solid foundation, which motivates me, which is, okay, this is a huge passion of mine, and I put a lot on the line. I took some sacrifices for this. Now I need to buckle down and just work harder. I see the end result, and I can see that it's attainable. And so I get more motivated with small losses, with little setbacks, because I think that that's just one trade or one opportunity closer to the end goal.
Okay, right on, dude. That's phenomenal, man. What time frame do you use for day trading the SPY?
So I'll look at, of course, in the morning and in the afternoon room. I'll plan setups usually on the hour, on the daily, and then the hourly. And then when I actually execute them, I will look at the 5 minute and then the ticker on the 1 minute. Um, I've since I've been more aggressive this month, I've started focusing and toying with the 1 minute more, and it's actually I've seen there's some things that in patterns that you will notice on the 5 minute and it'll look great. And then I moved to the 1 minute just for execution purposes.
Okay. So it's now the 1 minute when you're executing, do you execute your swing trades on the 1 minute as well, or also day trades?
No, that's mostly just day trades, just because like as we were talking about on I think Monday, that was that Apple trade that
Yep.
I brought up to you. So on that Apple trade, whenever we spoke about how we were looking for it to retest on the 5 minute, it
Mm,
actually so it was a really good double it was a double bottom, and so it came up, and I was looking for it to retest in the 5 minute after you brought it up to confirm. I think it was right there. I can pull it up on my trading view.
yep.
It
It was
was
right. It was right here.
yeah, perfect. And so I set it up, and it never retested on the 5 minute, and it actually, when I looked back on it, it did retest on the 1 minute.
Hmm.
Here it is. So yeah, it never tested on the 5 minute, broke above. Yeah, had the breakout candle, then had the one black retest at, I think it was 170 almost perfectly. And
Yeah.
so that would have actually, it went up to my target 172.90, which if I had my more aggressive stop at 169.60, that's with a 40-cent risk. And then there was another option. You could have done it down here at 169.30 or 25, up to your decision. And so that ended up being like a 3.5 or 7 hour win, depending on your leverage on it.
Killer. So what options do you buy the same week?
Yeah, yes. So I've just mostly for day trading, because there's really no reason unless it's on Friday, and like on a day today where theta makes a big difference, because usually today's like the Thursday of the week, usually the day before expiration. And so theta and the premium can get a little skippy sometimes on like those expiration dates. But yes, I usually try to do in the money and as close to the expiration as I can.
How much in the money?
Usually either like right on it, usually that. So for SPY, so say right now it's at 160.62. If I were to go bullish, I'd get probably, that's pretty close. I'd probably get 160 calls. It all depends on how far away your target is. If it's really a very close aggressive trade, you want to do exactly in the money, because sometimes if it's farther out, the gains won't reflect on the option contract. And
Right.
so I'll usually do the same price.
Do you have, so are you basing your risk and your return and everything off of the sense of how the options move, or are you basing it on P&L or percentage or amount of time, or how do you know when to get out?
Uh, so I do the 1R, and so I'll look it up on the option graph, the option chart. And so say if like I was buying calls and I was going to buy them at $2. My risk is right now it's $200. So I'd look to place a stop at around 180, if I were to get 10 contracts, that is.
Gotcha. Okay. So do you always buy 10 contracts, or do you just
It,
always just look for that 200?
whatever the 1R will be. That's been the sweet spot for me. 10 contracts has a lot of leverage. So either you're going to get stopped out really quickly, which is never fun, or he'll work in your favor greatly.
10 contracts with 20-cent risk, right?
Yeah, correct.
It's $200, man. Everywhere you cut it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have another trader who does something very similar to that, not with options though, but with stocks. And he finds a stock that he likes, whatever it might be for the day, just something based on a gap or whatever. And he'll trade that 7 or 8 times that day, but he buys in 10-cent increments, right? So
Mm-hmm.
same exact thing. He'll buy, I think it's 5,000 shares. So his risk is $500. And it's just very easy to calculate. So it's just a different way of approaching risk, but it's the same thing, right? It's about keeping your risk consistent, knowing when to get in is also magically helpful, but being able to have that variable that doesn't really change that risk is really big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, crucial. Sadly, the only downside of that, of course, whenever you're pricing it on the option stop, your stop might be a little too tight, and you might get wicked out. Or that's where the discipline comes in, where you have to honor that stop as much as you might think. Okay, well, I'm at my stop, I'm at my max risk, but it could go either way right here. Maybe I should just wait for one more tick, wait for this candle to close. That either can go in your favor, or you might be looking back on it like, man, what was I doing? I should have just got out for 1 hour loss. That would have been no worries with that.
Yeah, man, I love it. So what gave you your, I guess, overall drive of not being afraid to lose on trades? Because that's something that a lot of people battle with. Do you think that was something you was born naturally with, or were you in sports and you got used to the competition? Like, how do you just overcome the fear of losing?
Yes, I really think that's nurture. I think that's something you learn. I think it's born in more in some people as well, but that's something that was instilled for me. I grew up wrestling since I was in kindergarten, actually, and so it was a huge part of my life. And wrestling, it's an individual but team sport, and so you go out there and you're wrestling alone for however long, and your outcome's dependent on you. You know, you can't rely on the quarterback or the running back or somebody else to come through whenever you make a mistake. That's put on yourself, and that's something that you have to own up to and take, just realize, and you have to take ownership for your mistake. And so with a trade, I understand the risk I could incur, and so when I take a trade, I fully understand that it might go completely opposite way and I could lose. So I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong, because the longer you're in a losing trade is the longer you're not in a winning trade.
I love it, man. I'm with you, by the way. I massively recommend individual sports to figure out if you have any kind of problem with that. So for me, I did a lot of folk style as well, but I did mostly jiu-jitsu.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same thing, right? So if you're fighting someone or you're grappling someone or you're rolling with somebody, there is you do have to admit defeat at some point, and it is so overwhelming, but also kind of comforting at the same time, because, like, you know what? I really tried. I did my best. I lost, and I can't blame it on anyone. Oh, like not being able to pass the blame is something that I think everyone should at least experience at some point in their life, because a lot of people don't, man. That's the thing. A lot of people have never been in that environment. They've played team sports where they'll play basketball, baseball, or maybe they're at work and they're in some type of work team or meeting, and they can always, in their mind, even though they don't do it out loud, right? In their mind, they can blame it on someone. They can just kind of pass the buck. When you do an individual sport, which there's not tons of them, like if it's marathon or Spartan race or weightlifting or a musical instrument or something, and you're in a competition, you just lose. Man, it's a very overwhelming but underwhelming feeling at the same time.
Yeah, it's definitely something hard to deal with, especially as a kid. I mean, if you've ever been to anybody that's been to a wrestling tournament for elementary kids, there's two outcomes on a wrestling match. There's a winner, then there's the kid crying, and so it's hard growing up to take all that ownership and be like, wow, so I lost and that's solely my fault. But I think it's really important to learn that as a young age, because then it also instills and teaches you that whenever you win, it's because of you, and that the outcome is in your control. It teaches you that, yes, it's up to you if you win or lose. And so it all depends on how hard you're working, how much time you're willing to put into this. And it all comes down to you. And that's something I'm comfortable doing now. I'm comfortable whenever even if the stakes are high or I could fail, I'm comfortable whenever the outcome's in my own hands, because I know it's something that I can control.
Yeah, man, it's funny you brought up the kids crying thing, because that's like I think until they're 13 or 14, they lose, they're just gonna bust into tears, and it's like, hey man, it's all right, cry it out, you lost, let this pain soak in so that you either get better or you can understand your emotion. Like, it's all right that you lost. Just losing and failing are two different things. Losing just simply means you didn't win. Failing means you gave up.
100%. I cannot agree anymore with that.
Yeah, two totally different things. Man, I love it. So one person asked a question about your options as well. I know we're just kind of flip-flopping back and forth, but I know you're cool with it. What do you look at Greeks or deltas at all when you buy your option, or you just kind of focus on right at the money and just focus on that?
As hard as it is to admit, I don't pay as much attention on the Greeks as I should. I know it depends. If I'm doing a swing trade, I'll definitely look a lot closer on what the delta rate on that is and just the theta. But with quick moves intraday, I'm not too worried about that. I just stick to in the money and usually that same week expiration. I don't trade for like the SPY. I don't trade the ones expiring on Wednesdays and Mondays, the minis.
Okay.
Or is that what they call them?
Yeah, they're not called minis, but yeah, the ones that expire. You said so you don't trade the ones that expire on Wednesdays?
No, just because I found that they just the way they react to premiums just a little. I think it's easier to predict the premium on the Friday, the regular expirations. I think it's easier that way.
So where did you learn a lot of your options? Because I know there's no way it could have been all from me.
Well, you might be. Yeah, you're a huge contributor to it. So you and then Tasty Trades.
Yep.
That so a lot of online work. Whenever I was in school, I'd get done with my classes and get done with my work and tests or studying, whatever I was doing, reading. And so from that was during the day, and then about 11 at night or 12, then I would hit the switch and start studying something I actually had an interest in. So it allowed me to study for a longer period of time because I genuinely had an interest in it. So I would, from 11 or 12, then that's when I would start trading. Start learning about this thing I actually cared about, and I would just study a lot of options. Any YouTube video I could get my hands on, books, really any book I could find in the library. But there really isn't as much information on this stuff as you'd expect. And so it took me a little bit of time to find out who was genuine and who was actually knowledgeable in what they're teaching. And I found you're just probably the most genuine and a very genuine guy. So I trusted your information, and you have the track record to back it up.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that, dude. That's very, very humbling. What books did you find in the library about options?
Actually, so probably the oldest books you can imagine. This was in the public library, and a couple just really basic, like on anything that would say options in the title, or you really, because there's no, you really, what do you look for? And I didn't know. I knew nothing. And so the first one I picked up was understanding options, and I started right there. And that most of the books weren't exactly as helpful as a lot of the particular videos like yours, especially because they're mostly older books written from about commodity contracts and that kind of options, not more aggressive intraday options trading.
Well, I can say one guy, if you ever want some newer books, he's a good friend of mine. I've interviewed him here before, and he actually lives here in Nashville, but Michael Thompson, just in case you ever want to dive into some option books, this would be the guy. He is the best or the most options sold publisher or author or whatever in the world. So
oh yeah, you had him on what, maybe earlier this year, right?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I think I remember him.
Yeah, so any of these, if you find any of these books, these are all of his books. Tons of options. So, I mean, I agree that they are, they're written like a lot of other books are written, you know, like option books. So it's like they can be a little dry at times, but it's hard to make options super exciting. And that's why I always preferred videos versus writing. I do like writing, but I kind of like to get the point across to people that, you know, get the energy, because it's options to themselves are pretty boring, but the amount of money that you can make and the speed at which you can make them have to be exciting, you know?
Oh yeah, and you definitely bring that excitement and that enthusiasm. Definitely, that's what made some of these videos that you did were so enjoyable, and that's why I think you made the subject. It can be a boring subject, but to be a successful trader, boring's good. I like boring, especially now. When I have a boring trade, I have no complaints because it's probably a profitable trade.
Heck yeah, man. I love it. Man, so what questions, if anyone has any questions for Tony, throw them in the chat pane. Do you have any questions for me since we're here?
Yeah, actually I have a few.
Okay.
First, you always talk about, well, not always, but you've talked about how you know, there's a trade that you might have taken when you're not on the mic or when there's not other people following your trade. How does your strategy, what changes, what variables change? Is it just a little bit more aggressive whenever you're trading alone, or what's a really good setup that you look for that maybe we're not used to seeing?
Oh, nice. That's a good question, man. Yeah, I do get a little bit more aggressive, and the reason being is when I created the room and when I created real life trading, my goal and objective was always to help people understand and see why we're doing something and why it's happening versus the actual trade itself and the mechanism of the trade. Because learning the why and understanding the process and procedure of what you're going to do before it occurs is usually the absolute best methodology to trading. So for me, for example, really the Qs is the best example that I could give you. So the Qs, this is a trade that by myself I would have absolutely taken. The reason that I don't have to explain it, right? So when I'm taking a trade, I can be a lot faster and I can go real quick when I'm trading because I've just built in this rhythm of, okay, I know exactly what time of the day. Sometimes, depending on the day, I can wake up, 5-10 minutes before the market opens, hop right to the computer, and I already have all the notes written down from yesterday of what I want to trade. And I pull them up and I just throw in the trades. So I've practiced, and I've had sessions just like if you practice a piano or a guitar or whatever. A lot of people practice putting time in front of the charts, but another speed component is actually inputting the order and figuring out how you can get faster with that, with default settings or hotkeys or things of that nature. So for example, on the Qs, so we have a swing trade right now where we bought in at 5 with a stop at 3 is a swing. So right here, based on this candle, when I'm looking at this extension, so if I hop over here to an hourly chart, so here's an hourly, and I'm looking at a lot of time frames. I know for sure with almost a high degree of certainty, this many black candles in a row on the hourly when the stock makes a new low, right, and then it posts a pretty obvious bullish candle on the 5 minute. So here would be a 5-minute example. So you have all of these hourly candles. Then you have this ginormous bullish engulfing candle right here. That's an obvious signal to sell a swing, lock in a profit, especially on an option. Because, I mean, at that point, that option's up, 5%, 10%, something like that. It wasn't huge, but it was profitable. And then when the stock comes right back to here, so this previous resistance, could have bought another option, the exact same strike price and everything for $4. And that option right now, just a few moments ago, was worth about $4.95, which is pretty solid. So for me, I like to focus more on just the sentiment, the mentality of the candles, and understanding what I would do, who's trapped. And I'm very, very fast at that when I'm by myself because I don't have to explain what I'm seeing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's just no, go ahead.
Yeah, and everyone will get there too. It's just that it's all about asking the question of why. There are days, trust me, where I'm like, I'm not good at this. I need to back off, and that's why I have those rules in place for how long I have to plan something in advance. Because I am very, very spontaneous. I can take a trade without even thinking about it, and that's not a good thing. So I built rules in place for me so that when I do have a trade, it's something that I have to write down in advance. I have to think about it in advance. And I always, always, always have to be asking myself, what is the market doing 15 minutes from now? And I don't have to know the answer, but if I create a plan that says this is what I want it to do, and it doesn't do that, then I don't take the trade. But if it does, I always take the trade. Hands down, no question, because I do not care about losing. Because I'm already, one of the things I tell people often is if you want to do anything on your own, it doesn't matter if it's trading. Like if it's trading, if it's entrepreneurial, if it's building a business, if it's getting married, having kids, adopting a dog, traveling, whatever you're trying to do, you've got to figure out worst case scenario and be okay with that. You gotta embrace worst case scenario and really, really dig down to like what is the absolute bottom of the barrel, worst that this can get. And if you can appreciate that and you can live with that, then move forward. And my challenge is, and I tell people, my appetite for risk at this point is a lot different than most people's because I've already experienced worst case scenario. While losing all my dad's money, being absolutely broke, while working in, going to school full time, working full time, learning how to trade, having no life, having not having enough money to eat, out living on my own, no parents, no one to help me, just rock bottom. And it still wasn't that bad, Like if I'm looking back, I had a house, I had a job, I had clothes, and I was able to eat food, when there were certain grocery stores that were doing free samples, So it wasn't that horrible. So, yeah, I know that's a random answer to your question, but that's why my appetite for risk is a little bit different than most traders, and I can hold through things longer. I don't care as much because I've already embraced worst case scenario, and I know right now if I lose all of my money, I can just go get more money again. Like money is the easiest part of the equation. You got to figure out if you can master yourself, you can master the markets.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest takeaways I've learned from you is that money is abundant. It is like out there as much as you want it. And it's hard for some people to recognize that, especially because myself, I didn't believe how available it really is. And as soon as you make peace with, okay, yeah, if I lose on this trade, what's the worst outcome? Okay, I lose 1 arm. Okay, well then that allows me to stay in the game a little bit longer. That allows me to take another trade, an opportunity where it could be a winner. And I'm a little bit more aggressive like you are. So that's why I was kind of interested in what your strategy might be that we don't see, because even with how quickly the market changes, one tick changes it all. And so what might be good right now, and then by the time you enter it in Slack, it might not. It might not look nearly.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing is when the time I'm setting up a trade, I have to really do a little bit more of a conservative one that might take longer to set up because I want to do it for other people. I mean, that's the other goal is I know I can now trade for myself. I've built all the things in place, all the systems. I've been hired for other people. I can do it. I want to make sure that other people can do it. And Man, I'm really excited that you have gone through all that material and you found a plan and an approach that works for you, dude. That makes me so happy.
Yeah, I'm extremely thankful for it. Like you said, you found out for yourself, and you live in the world of abundance and giving back, where you know there's enough out there for yourself, and now you're focused on paying that back, making sure others are successful in this, and that's something I admire extremely, because it takes a certain individual with especially high morals and values, and it says a lot about you that you've done it for yourself, you've proved yourself, and now you're trying to do something greater in my eyes, which is give back to many others. Plant a seed. You know how to trade now. Let's teach others how to, and that's something I find extremely admirable.
Thanks, man. Which is what you're going to be doing too now. You
I
know,
can't wait. Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be, like I said, there's the ironic part is about my trading that you mentioned. I am very aggressive, but also for the long-term stuff, I'm super conservative. Well, I shouldn't say super conservative. I did buy Bitcoin, but it's for my long-term accumulation. I really don't try to mess with that because I've gotten pounded into my head for years and years, just the compounding interest effect, right? And like I said,
Yes.
you're young, I'm young. We put money in, we fill up our IRAs every year. We have other things that we do where we just, even if it's in a cash account, longer term position where you just accumulate. Because if you look around at certain companies, you're not going to necessarily care their value of their stock if you can get enough of their shares and they're still around and they pay dividends, or you can do covered calls. You get enough of those shares and you're already retired just because you have that amount of stock. If you have $1 million worth of stock and you're getting paid 4% interest just off of that stock through dividends every year, that's 40 grand. You could easily accumulate $1 million. I feel like just randomly buying stocks and companies that you like between the ages of 19 and 60. And so when you get to 60, that's 40 years, man. Which is forever for you. That's forever for me, but 40 years away, that is like so long from now.
Got a lot of time.
A lot of time. Yeah, a lot of time. Does anyone in your family trade the markets?
No, actually, my father's a chiropractor, and my mother doesn't trade either. So when I approached him with this idea of, hey, I'm interested. I actually opened an account my senior year, and I convinced my dad enough that I knew what I was doing, and that I had a strategy or somewhat understanding that, hey, this is an interest of his. I guess let's see what happens next, and I just ran with the opportunity.
Yeah, totally. Did he give you your seed capital for trading, or is that something that you saved up over time?
Mostly what I saved up, and then he matched mine,
Right
which
on.
was really generous and something I'm so grateful for.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. No, go Pops. That's awesome. Do you have any brothers or sisters?
I have three beautiful sisters. Yeah.
Three sisters, younger or older?
So I have an older sister, a twin, and then a younger sister.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
I love it, man. So let me ask you this question. How do we get more ladies involved in trading? If you had an opinion on that, what do you think?
See, that's something I've been trying to work on too. My oldest sister, she already graduated from college, and she's becoming an elementary teacher. So I lost her already. And then so I have a twin where I'm working on her a little bit. She's got kind of my same characteristics and mentality. So I think I could be able to work with her, maybe teach her something. I don't bore her too much for now. So I try to play it a little easy. But my younger sister, I don't think she is she's still in high school. I try to leave some books whenever I go home. I try to leave some books at the house, hey, you should check this one out, or just some basic books and just a thing or two. So I think there's some opportunities out there for my sisters. But for females in general, I think like Latoya, she's a tremendous trader. And I think women are naturally, I think they have the ability to be really good traders because I was reading about how women pay more attention to close details.
Yep.
I don't know if that's true or not, but I think it was from a study I was reading, if I'm correct, and that if they have that eye, and I think that's something that's really important in trading, making, like, checking, double checking, and paying attention to those really close details because everything's changing so quickly.
Oh, dude, for sure. So there was, I have an article out there somewhere about this, and I don't know if I can find it right now. I'll look at it later. But I'm talking about personalities and what personalities are better traders than others. This is just my pure opinion, but just from the people that I know, the traders that I've met with in the past, knowing their professions, knowing what they've done, and also knowing the skill set that is required and kind of the personality that's required to trade really well. The best profile that I could ever build for a trader would actually be someone between the ages of first, like kindergarten to almost high school, female teacher.
Oh, just because the patience part, I assume, right?
Oh, bingo. So not only patience, but you have patience. You also are very good at multitasking.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. You have a very good memory. Most teachers in that realm have very good memory. They're very passionate and caring people. Which I mean, you need that just kind of throughout the overall, the approach. They're conservative with money, but they want more. Right? Because teachers don't get paid nearly enough. So they want more money, but they're still conservative. So they're not going to just blow all of their money and lose every single dime they have on a trade. They're going to approach things in a very cautious way, but they're always willing to learn more. And that's the other thing is they learn very well and they teach very well. So if you are a good teacher, you're automatically going to be someone who can learn pretty well, because if you can learn something and you don't understand it, teach it to yourself kind of thing, and you'll get the hang of it, or go teach it to someone else and you'll get the hang of it. So yeah, that's one of the best profiles that I could build for a trader would be, man, if you're like a second grade female teacher, you're going to be amazing at trading. They might not believe it, but it's true.
Yeah, that's really interesting because, like I said, my oldest sister's becoming, I think, a kindergarten teacher. So maybe there is potential.
Absolutely, man. Now, one of the worst, since we're talking about the best, here's one of the worst. One of the worst is usually male business owners. They're up there with doctors and lawyers and engineers. Are some of the worst profiles, or like the hardest profiles, because, and as a male business owner, the reason that's difficult is because in business, it's a very, very easy fix. If you want to fix something, just throw more money at it, right? That's really it. Just throw money at the business, and it will either grow or stabilize or calm down, But you can't really do that in trading. So it's not like you can't defend your entry. Yeah, it's not like you can't make money if you're a male business owner in trading. It's just going to be the hardest one to do, more than likely. Simply because of some of the attributes that you have going into business, right? You're very similar to me and you. We're fearless. We're entrepreneurs. We don't care. We will work. We will do our best to outwork the market, but you just simply can't do it. Right? You cannot outwork the market. It's impossible. So you just don't even try. And that's what a lot of business owners have a struggle with. Is just trying to outwork the market.
I think that's something I try to do. Just even more recently, I tried to overthink the market, and I tried to be a huge predictor instead of a reactor. And I think flipping that switch and instead reading what the market's telling me versus what I want it to do, like still having a plan and telling myself and towards my plan what I want it to do in the next 5 or 10 minutes, but reacting on what it is doing, what it's giving me, instead of forcing opportunities, just taking them.
Yeah, no, totally, absolutely, and that's the big difference. Is what a lot of people do is when you create a plan, they'll say, "This is what I think is going to happen," and if it doesn't, they don't have a plan in place for that. It's like you always need to have plan A, plan B, right? If this happens, I'll do this, but if this happens, you got to have that flexibility, because you can't just be, all right, this happens, I'm going to do this, and if it doesn't, then you're stuck and you're missing the trade. So,
you have to be extremely open-minded.
Yep, you got to be extremely open-minded, extremely flexible. Man, this was a fantastic conversation, my friend. It
was a pleasure.
Yes, absolute honor to meet with you, and I'm really, truly, and sincerely excited that you are embracing this lifestyle at such a young age, and also just the mental approach, the steps that you've already figured out. You have an amazing and immaculate future from now, and I truly hope that in 10 years someone watches this video You're a multimillionaire. You have numerous businesses. You're helping tons and tons of people all around the world doing whatever it is you want to do. And I wish you only the best and the most success, man.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Jeremy. I'll go a step further and say those are my goals and a few of those things that you said, and I'm going to make them happen. And just trying to be like you one day at a time. You've given so much back to traders like myself and hundreds of people around the world, and it's truly inspiring. So once again, I appreciate all that you've done for us traders and people in general.
You're absolutely welcome, man. It's my pleasure. Dude, thank you so much for being on the show, Tony. You rock. Have a great rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend as well, okay?
Yep, thank you too, Jeremy. Thanks for having me.
Likewise, buddy. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Tony. 19 legend.